Like so many of us, when I was a kid, I experienced a number of psychiatrists that all did basically the same thing, which was they would interpret my emotions and various behaviors like inattention or alleged anxiety or alleged oppositional behavior basically as a symptom of a disease and then seek to modify that through medication, basically. At no point did they really treat me as fully human and really take my feelings seriously, try to understand my perspective, or really engage in any kind of critical thinking about what kind of dynamics I might be trapped in within my environment and therefore what I might need. Now, putting this into more general terms here, so many, probably most of the problems that kids face in one way or another come down to their family system. So even if a kid is experiencing so-called ADHD symptoms because they are rejecting the school system that they're stuck in, it's a very different experience if you actually have parents that are really on your side and really are making an effort to really understand your perspective, are really capable of doing so, they care about how you feel, versus ones that just take the side of the school system against you. It's in your family system that your real feelings are either attuned to or not. If we're lucky, then our real emotions will be met with understanding, with support, with nurturance, with attunement. And if we're less lucky, then then our vulnerability and our emotions can be met with more judgment, with control, with coercion, with confusion, basically all kind of things that stem from basically the parents' own unresolved issues from their own unresolved childhoods. Now, unfortunately, many parents are extremely deluded about this. They may have come from actually really horrible family backgrounds and have a lot of trauma as a result of it, but are completely deluded about this and they aren't aware of this at all. And in fact, they suppress latent awareness of this. And that's not intended as judgment or criticism, just a description of what is. Rather than ask difficult questions about what is going on, they cling to some narrative about how wonderful things are, about how wonderful their current family is, about how wonderful of parents they are, about how wonderful their parents are and how great their childhood was. And so, because they believe this totally false narrative about how great things are, they assume that if the kid is unhappy and the kid is miserable and the kid is having, a lot of emotional reactivity and they're in distress all the time or whatever, that there must be something inherently wrong with the kid because clearly things are so wonderful. If the kid doesn't feel that way, they must have some kind of a biological defect or they're bad people or whatever it may be. And so they might bring their kid to a psychiatrist with this narrative. And unfortunately, many, many psychiatrists have been perfectly willing to just go along with this narrative, to bolster it, to not actually consider that, oh, this family actually might be pretty screwed up. And so the kid is being wounded in this family system. They just kind of take the nature of that environment for granted, they accept it, and then they seek to modify the kid. And the parents get two main things out of this. They get their delusional narrative bolstered by this scientific societal authority, and they get their kid basically subdued and controlled with medication or with some other kind of mental health intervention. Now, of course, this is an incredibly awful thing to do to a kid who it's really just adding insult to injury over and over again. They're in a situation that is painful, where they're dying inside, where they're losing themselves, they're not able to really develop and become who they're really meant to be. And then this societal authority that's supposed to help them and is supposed to be this advocate for them is just the opposite. They're participating in throwing the kid under the bus. And then they might be then, flooding the kid's brain with chemicals to basically subdue their emotions and control their behavior. And the kid has no real support, no real no real allies, nobody that really witness what's going on and be an advocate for them, even though everyone around them believes this totally deluded story that the opposite is true, that the kid is really being helped and supported. Now, I think it's worth saying here that parents of really healthy family systems would probably not try to convince themselves all the time how wonderful their family system is, how wonderful they are as parents, etc. They would be trying to look at what might be wrong so that they can figure out what can be improved. But engaging in that kind of process brings up a lot of difficult things. So somebody needs to be very much aware of that and very much willing to process the difficult things that come up inside of somebody. So they need to have a certain level of awareness that allowing those difficult feelings to arise in somebody is actually a really productive and really healthy thing. Um, and of course, that process is probably going to bring up feelings within the parents that they've been running from since their horrible childhoods. And so it makes sense that a lot are not willing to do that. And I would say the degree to which a parent is willing to do that is also going to be the degree to which they are then able to really see the same difficult emotions in the kid and allow the kid to actually process them so that they can become emotionally healthy. Now, sadly, if we went through this as kids, it's almost inevitable that we are going to be quite brainwashed by this. And we're going to be brainwashed into believing that there is some kind of inherent biological defect in us, even though this narrative is completely preposterous. And it makes sense that we're going to be brainwashed into that because everyone around us, or at least the most important people around us who have had so much power over us and we've been dependent on, have been promoting this narrative because they're incapable, I suppose, of taking responsibility and really dealing with the truth of the situation, painful as it may be. Um, and this societal authority, psychiatrists, have been bolstering this narrative that there is some inherent defect in us. And so that's one aspect of this that makes it really difficult to recover from. But I would say as we really start to kind of do our own inner work and process these things, which I have a lot of videos on, I've created a lot of resources on, so I'd encourage you to check those out. Then this all starts to become a lot clearer and these narratives just kind of fall away. And I would say when this process gets really exciting and really fun is when we really do start to do that work and we start to heal and we start to really kind of release those emotions and things, and we start to kind of work with all the different aspects of our trauma and we're able to heal them. Then we're able to see how we are essentially leapfrogging these people. We're leapfrogging the people like our parents who have been deluded, these psychiatrists who are probably similarly unhealed and similarly unself-aware as our deluded parents. And we're able to become kind of more self-aware, more empowered, and on a certain level, I would say more self-actualized than they are, because they've been running from these really difficult questions about themselves, about their lives. They have been running from their own true inner world, and we are not. And so that is kind of an exciting aspect of this process that I think can really lend itself to a certain level of higher purpose, if you will. So I really hope that this video has been helpful for you. Please share it with anybody who you think it might be valuable for. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching this all the way to the end, and I look forward to having you next time.